Hello and welcome to the video for Wednesday, October 28th for basic audio production. Go ahead and start this.
Hey, Greg.
Hey, how's it going?
All right, just busy. I was just shooting some boiling eggs, some boiling water.
Sounds good. Sounds
Yeah.
pretty good,
Hey,
actually.
Greg.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good. Did you get any sort of Halloween costume together for any reason?
Not really.
Okay. Yeah, I know it's kind of hard to decide to put a costume together because you're not going to do anything, especially if you're not going to do anything, right?
Yeah.
Although my girlfriend and I went to a Spirit Halloween store the other night and it was packed. It was
Was
packed.
Oh
it?
my God.
I think there's like a 50% off sale.
Well, yeah, and the manager in there said that they have been insanely busy and he had a brand new truck coming with more stuff because they had been selling out of stuff. It was
Oh.
insane. Yeah. But anyway, I did put together a costume, which I want to share with you guys. Are you guys ready for this?
Yeah.
All right, now what you have to do, you have to guess what it is, okay? All right, here I go. Okay, what am I?
My box?
Nope.
Damn.
No.
Black styrofoam.
Not literally what I am, but what am I?
The Infinite
I
Cosmos.
would
Nope.
Oh,
yeah.
the wall.
I've been called worse. No, I'm a Zoom profile.
Oh, you need your
That's
name
clever.
on there.
That's true. I got to put my name on there.
That's clever.
Yeah, I think I'll do that. I'll print my name out and put that at the bottom. There's a little, I got to cut little eye holes in it too so I can see. But yeah, I figured that would be pretty fun. A costume for going nowhere. If you're not going to go anywhere, you just have to entertain yourself, right? Okay. Anyway, let me go ahead and admit a few more people into the class. Let me go ahead and put the attendance in. .edu. Okay. All right, so I'm going to the attendance tracking and basic audio production. All right, I got that taken care of. Now I just wanted to check in with you guys. So how you doing on this project? Are you guys able to find a way, you know, some software you can use to make music? Or some of you guys struggling with that? Are you all doing okay? What's happening?
I'm doing pretty well with it.
Okay, what are you using, Dylan?
I'm using FL Studio, and then I'm also using this mobile app called N-Track 9. The only problem with the mobile app is that the free version puts on a basically it puts on this like automated voice saying that you're using the free version of the app, so I just cut that out essentially.
Right. Okay.
I just put it in an audition and cut it out.
Okay.
But it's
yeah,
really good.
I love FL Studio. And by the way, I found out, not that any of you have a couple extra $100 lying around, let alone me having a couple extra $100, but FL Studio has like 3 versions. There's a $99 basic version, which allows you to, you know, code in electronic music, but it doesn't allow you to record actual audio. Then there's a $199 version that lets you record audio as well. And then there's a $299 version that comes in with all this extra plugins, right? Well, for teachers and students, you can get a student discount, but only on that really expensive version, the $300 version. basically you can get the $300 version for $200. So what that means is for $199, you got $300 worth of program, but it's still a lot of money, you know? So I'm sitting here deciding, I really love that program. I'm sitting here going, oh man, should I, you know, blow that money on that program? I think I will, because I just love FL Studio. It's when you find a piece of software that really works for you, grab it, you know, don't just stick with the free version, pay the 30, 40 or whatever, and get the real version, because it will inspire you and it will become a tool in your toolbox. That's how I feel. Okay, anybody else? How, let's see, I think Iman said, I barely finished my music, but now I have 1 week to record my video. Oh no. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, Iman, but I do relate, and I actually think that you did it the right way, which is get the music done first, because those of you that are doing your video first, because you know that's what you're familiar with, hopefully you won't run into a situation where you won't have enough time to do your music, you know. Maybe if all you've been working on is video, consider at least starting your music now and at least putting a scratch track together that has, you know, some musical ideas in it that you can develop more. But don't wait till the last minute to do your music, because you know, it's as important as the video, you know, in general, and especially in this project, which is, you know, this project is really focused on the original music, and then the video kind of complements it as opposed to the other way around, you know. Let's see. It says check pexels.com for stock footage. Yeah, that's a good idea. I got my idea, but learning GarageBand took a lot. Yeah, GarageBand is a great program though. I mean, but you're right. Music programs do take a lot. How about everybody else? Any other reports on how you're doing with the music for this project? Anybody have a program they're using? Let's see. Ken says he'll be done on time. Okay, good, Ken. We always look forward to what you do, Ken. Oh, it looks like Vlad has a brand new Halloween icon. Looks like Count Chocula. But it looks like he put kind of a creepy guy over Count Chocula. So I like that, Vlad. That looks good.
Gracias.
Okay. So let's see. Dee, I think I have you down for a presentation. Did you have time to put one together yet? Let's see. I'm not seeing any audio from you, Dee. Are you there? Oh, yes, but my mic isn't working right now. Okay. So Dee, do you want me to show it, and I can always, if it's sort of self-explanatory, I can just show it, or we can wait till you get your mic working again, or I can even narrate. What do you want to do? Maybe it's not uploaded. I don't know. I can put it in my folder and connect on my phone so I can talk. Okay, that works. So let me go to why don't you put it in your folder? Meanwhile, I will go to your folder. Let's see. So I want to go to, I want to go to my PME email. All right, give me a minute here, guys. While he's uploading that, I gotta, come on, let's go to pima.edu on this thing. Okay, pima.edu. Okay, logging in. All right. All right, I'm getting into the PM website. Let's see, plan B, hand gestures. I like that. Or maybe we could pass notes in class. Let's see. Play Gmail. And you guys ever get in trouble for passing notes in class?
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. I remember, did you guys know that you can go back to your schools, like your elementary school and your high school, and get a copy of your records, like the student records that they have for you?
No.
So I actually live about 2 minutes from the elementary school where I went to school. And I went back there a really long time ago. I asked for a copy of my records, and my first grade teacher wrote this completely bogus and unfair report about me, I have to tell you. And so I have to first tell you the circumstances. I was in the first grade class, and both me and this other kid named David Snow liked this one girl. And so we were both, talking to her and trying to impress her. And each one of us was trying to like talk up ourselves and talk down the other guy, right? And so at one point we started, verbally abusing each other and pushing each other, right? And the teacher came and separated us, right? And as she separated us, I tried to kick at him, right? So, and that was the only incident that ever happened, right? But then I looked at my report for first grade, and the teacher wrote, "Greg often kicks in class." I'm like, what? Often? It was once. So anyway, scarred, emotional scars for life from that. Okay. So let's see. So we got to look for DeAndre. D. Oh wait, there it was. D. Oh boy, Davis. Maybe it's D Davis. Let's see. Yeah, there it is. Let's see. Okay. Andre 176, 275. Okay, here we go. Okay, audio production presentation. All right, here we go. So, all right, I've got your, oh, and now I got to let him back in. Okay. All right, let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, let's open it with Google Slides. So D, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here now.
Okay, so all you have to do is narrate and tell me when you want me to move to the next slide.
Okay.
Whenever you're ready.
Alrighty. So I was just kind of like starting off with this project. I was a little confused, just like what to do. And then it kind of went over the little notes that you had over for the little outline that we could follow based on the class. I'll say, okay, let me take a little inspiration from that, and then also from the class we had on Monday when we were talking about the soundtracks that are in movies and stuff like that, just getting the emotion from it. So what I did was I made a little slideshow about some of my favorite soundtracks from movies that I've watched as a kid growing up. Okay, then we go to the second slide now. All right, so the first movie, Tarzan, this came out, I think it was 1999 or 98 or so. Of course, Phil Collins. We all know Phil Collins. I think, well, we should. You got a couple of songs on there, "Stranger Like Me" and "You'll Be in My Heart." This is the first time I ever heard Phil Collins before. Everybody knows the "In the Air Tonight" is basically his most famous song, but growing up, me and my brother always used to sing these songs when it came on, no matter how many times we watched this movie. And it actually went on to win several awards for best music score of the year. And okay, and then we can go to the next slide here. This next one is Moana. So this one came out 2016, I believe. Yeah. So you had a few songs in here. "How Far I'll Go" is like the basic, the main song that Moana sings throughout the whole movie. "You're Welcome" by The Rock. He has his own little rap part in there. Also a song, "We Know the Way." And it's insane because the album actually peaked #2 on the top 100. And it is actually only beaten out by The Weeknd because he had just dropped Starboy. So that's the only reason it came #2. And her main song that she sings, "How Far I'll Go," was actually nominated for 2 awards for Best Song. And then we can go to the next slide here. All right, so Goofy movie, this came out around the same time as Tarzan, Lion King, and all that. It starts off with stand out. And then the third point right there says eye to eye. And nobody else but you. So this movie basically had a lot of singing in it. It's like three of the biggest songs, and it also had the the big performance at the end. I always think it's like a Prince slash Michael Jackson power line. So it's kind of cool seeing the song play out. Max is um, performing on stage, and then he ends up getting to perform with Powerline at the end of the movie. And this soundtrack was also nominated for Best Music at the Annie Awards in 1999. That's actually the first time I heard of the Annie Awards. And then we can go on to the last slide here. And this one is Ants. This one came out around the same time. So it starts off, not starting off, but one of the big songs in there, Ants Go Marching to War. Z got himself into that situation where he ended up in war, but didn't actually want to fight. Death of Barbados, that song, it's like trying to think of the right name for it. It's almost like it's the only instrumental, but it's almost sounds like funeral music in a way. So it definitely made a big impact on the scene because Z looks up and he sees just this wasteland of what happened in the war, and he's by himself now. And surprisingly, what wasn't listed on the actual album, because it's an actual song, was I Can See Clearly Now. I believe that's the name of it, but yeah, that wasn't actually listed on the official album, and actually won Best Sound Editing Award at the 1999 Golden Reel Awards. So yeah, just in conclusion, it was growing up watching all these movies, you don't realize how big of an impact just the singing makes when it comes to scenes and movies like that. I've always preferred songs that have actual lyrics to it other than just the instrumentals that play during certain scenes. And that's it for me.
All right, nice job. Woo. That's cool. Yeah, I learned a few things. I didn't know all that great music was in those movies. So nice job. Yeah, this movie right here, I've been reading several things that say that this is a really overlooked Disney movie, that a Goofy movie is actually quite good, and a lot of people don't know about it. So I haven't seen it, so I'm gonna have to check it out. Would you say it's a good flick?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. The reason why I was actually reading up on this, why it's because of they, Disney, DreamWorks, Pixar, that I'd say 95 to about 2000, it was like oversaturated with movies. So I believe when Goofy movie came out, Lion King was still, at the top. And then you still have, what else? Toy Story was coming out.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, stuff like that. So
it got overshadowed by a lot of other
yeah.
stuff. Yeah. And then this movie, Tarzan, this was one of the most expensive animated films ever made. Let me look this one up. Let's see. Wikipedia. Let's see. Tarzan animated movie. Let's see. Oh, here it is. So let's see. Oh yeah. Let's see if I can find where it is. Oh yeah. So this is the animation of the film combines 2D hand-drawn animation with extensive use of computer-generated imagery. So this was 1999. So Disney decided, hey, we're doing 2D animation, but 3D, Pixar and all that stuff is on the rise. Maybe we should put some 3D in here. So they decided to do a film that was like sort of 50-50. And it turned out to be excruciatingly expensive. Let's see. So it says, against a production budget of 130 million in 1999, then the most expensive animated film ever made until Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within in 2001. Now, fortunately for them, it made a bunch of money, but I think it was the 3D. I think it was the 3D stuff that killed it. Let's see. I'll just see if I can find animation. Let's see. Okay, to create the sweeping 3D backgrounds, Tarzan's production team developed a 3D painting and rendering technique known as deep canvas. This technique allows artists to produce CGI backgrounds that look like a traditional painting. The software keeps track of brushstrokes applied in 3D space. For this advancement, the Academy of Motion Pictures Arts and Science awarded the creators of Deep Canvas a Technical Achievement Award in 2003. It says, so this was actually used in Atlantis, the Lost Empire. But if you haven't, and here's something about the Phil Collins music down here. But I think you guys should see a little bit of this because it looked really amazing at the time. So let me see if we can go there. Let's see if YouTube has an example. Okay, let's see. Tarzan animated movie. Let's see. I want to see if what we really want is him going through the trees. Let's see if I could find that somewhere. Jane meets Tarzan, Disney. 2 years ago. I don't know. Let me see if this one's any good. No, that's not it. All right, let me put in Tarzan swinging through trees animated Disney. All right, yeah, here we go. Oh, here we go. Yeah, this is perfect. It's exactly what I want. So this is an example of this technology where it's 3D technology, but as they said, they created a software so that they could make it look like a painting, but it's actually has 3D depth and everything like that. So let's check this out. Sorry, I don't know why it's so loud and so small. Let me make it quieter and bigger. Anyway, I just thought that was fascinating. Sometimes a production budget can get away from you and you think you have a great idea and then $130 million later, you're like, maybe we should have stayed 2D, right? Okay, anyway, let's go back to the class here. And then let me go back to the class website. And basic audio production. Okay, so nice job, Dee. I enjoyed that and make me want to go watch some of those movies again.
Thank you.
Okay, so I had a couple articles I want to discuss with you guys today. They're related to making soundtracks for film. The first one is called Fundamental Ways to Use Sound in Film. And some of this material kind of crosses over and intersects with some stuff we talked about on Monday, but some of it is new. So we'll try and skip over the stuff we've already talked about. But so, of course, we talked about diegetic sound, right? Which is the sound that's inside of the actual picture itself. And here's some further definitions of it: dialogue and sounds from your characters, sounds made in the environment, sounds from actions or the moving of objects, and music or sounds that are actually in the scene itself. So that's diegetic. Of course, non-diegetic are things like narration, extra sound effects you do in the studio, and soundtracks that are added on later. And then here's, we saw examples of this, but let's check out this other one.
Watch how the scene from Jaws opens with nothing but diegetic sound. Every sound we hear is the same sounds that the characters on screen hear. Sound of the waves, the kids singing, person calling over the dog, people splashing in the background, all diegetic sound. Nothing there that we hear that the characters don't hear. With the introduction of the shark's point of view here, we're going to now get some non-diegetic sound through the use of the score. The characters clearly do not hear this music because if you heard the Jaws theme as you were out swimming, you'd get out of the water quickly. This scene from Psycho combines diegetic sound, the sound of the car on the highway, with non-diegetic sound, the Bernard Herrmann score, ee-ee-eeing away in the background, and then includes something called internal diegetic sound. We're going to hear Marion's thoughts. There's people's voices running through her head. It's not really happening in the space of the movie, but we hear it and our character hears it as well, even if it's not real.
Yes, Mr. Lowry.
Carolyn? Marion still isn't in?
No, Mr. Lowry, but then she's always a bit late on Monday mornings.
Buzz me the minute she comes in. Call her sister. No one's answering at the house.
Okay, so diegetic just means that what we hear is what characters on the screen hear. Non-diegetic is when we hear things that the characters don't, like narration or music. And internal diegetic is where we hear things that the characters also hear that aren't necessarily part of the diegetic scene. Watch how Mel Brooks plays with the audience's expectations about diegetic and non-diegetic sound.
Okay, that's pretty fun. So Mel Brooks makes you think that you're listening to non-diegetic sound, and then he writes it in the orchestra's right there. Pretty fun way to play with that concept. Okay, so then of course, so we've got diegetic sounds that you can capture at the location, non-diegetic sounds which you add on usually after. Then they talk about exploring soundtrack options. Obviously you can create soundtracks or get soundtracks from other places. And then they talk about when to consider silence, which, as I said, many of these concepts were mentioned before, but these are some other different examples. So it says it is worth noting that one of the most important ways to make sound more noteworthy is to know when not to use it. Stylized breaks where either diegetic or non-diegetic sound is removed can create cinematic moments that can draw your audience in a scene or character or action. So let me see. I didn't mean to do that. I wanted to make it big. Okay. Let's watch this scene from Raging Bull, Martin Scorsese. After this ad.
Oh, no, and this is every frame of painting. Let's take a drive. Today's subject is Martin Scorsese and the art of silence. Even though Scorsese is famous for his use of music, one of his best traits is actually his deliberate and powerful use of silence. In interviews, he's credited Frank Warner for helping him do this on Raging Bull.
After a while, we had so many sound effects that Frank, after a while, always talked about pulling them out of the track and letting things go silent. Again, like a numbing effect, as if you're hitting the ear too many times.
Here's a famous moment where Jake LaMotta sets himself up for almost a religious slaughter. If you go through Scorsese's filmography, there are lots of interesting variations on this concept, and you can actually compare him directly to others. For instance, in the original Infernal Affairs, this crucial story moment plays with music. But for the remake, regardless of which film you prefer, there's a full course worth of study material if you watch and compare these two films. Sometimes Scorsese builds the entire film to a climax of sound. And then silence. This example is actually kind of extreme because the loudest moment in the entire movie is immediately followed by the quietest. Other times, the silence is the central dramatic beat of the scene. Quite famously,
how the fuck am I funny? What the fuck is so funny about me? Tell me what's funny.
Get the fuck out of here, Tommy. If you go back through all 50 years of his career, you'll actually find a lot of fascinating ways of using silence to heighten the subjectivity of a moment, to make a creepy scene even creepier, to show us love at first sight, and to bring our happiness to a screeching halt. Well, maybe not a total halt.
I'm not leaving. I'm not fucking leaving!
I think best of all of these sound design choices derive specifically from character. The characters here are all making important choices that will have consequences. Choosing to take the money, choosing not to fight back, choosing to hide their emotions, choosing not to trust someone, choosing to wait out the discomfort, choosing to get back in the game, choosing to ignore that they aren't wanted. And because these moments are repeated sparingly and deliberately in each movie, the silence feels different and it's tied to a different theme. It also lets the director build a full cinematic structure around the use of sound. For instance, in Raging Bull, almost every fight scene is actually preceded by a quieter domestic moment. This lets him do certain things like harsh cuts into punches, but it also underscores the theme of the film, which is that the violence in the ring is just an extension of the violence at home. By the time he's attacking his own brother, you actually hear the same sounds that you heard in the ring. And it's not just Scorsese who does this kind of cinematic structure. For instance, Saving Private Ryan is bookended by 2 long battles. And in each battle, we get a moment like this. At the beginning of the movie, we don't know any of these people, and at the end, we know all of them. Now, you might disagree with my interpretation here, but I'm convinced this character knows he's going to die. And in both of these moments, he's accepting that and continuing to fight. And I think this is a great example of using sound as an overall cinematic structure for the whole film. I do want to point out, this stuff isn't just a matter of good sound mixing, though there is that. The sound mixers can't do this stuff if you design the movie with wall-to-wall dialogue, effects, and music.
I don't have anything against a film being loud for a moment or two or a short period of time. I think that's completely appropriate. But if you have a sequence that's loud for 20 or 30 minutes, you've forgotten what it's like to be quiet. And so nothing really seems loud because everything is loud.
In popular cinema, writers and directors have moved away from having any silence at all or misusing the silence that they do have. And this is something that gets appreciably worse each year. Consider 1978. You might find that a bit cheesy, but at least this movie is willing to use silence to make us feel the character's loss, and it's willing to stay with him through that entire silence. Meanwhile, in 2013, this might seem silent, but there's always music underneath. More importantly, the not quite silence is used to reward the character. He murders someone and gets a hug for it. But if you watch the whole movie, literally every time there's silence, he gets a hug. So consider your silences and deploy them deliberately. Don't cheapen them by overusing them for any dramatic scene. If you can build the film, structure it so that the silence derives from your characters and what they're feeling, then you get something better than just silence. An emotional reaction.
Which would be worse? To live as a monster or to die as a good man?
Teddy?
Okay, so some pretty cool scenes in there, you know, especially focused on the idea of silence and how effectively it can be used and when not to use it. Now, the last point on this article is enhancing sound through the art of Foley and ADR. Of course, ADR, automatic dialogue replacement, which is where you go in after the film is done and read into microphones while you're watching the film. And so, you know, there was a video example, but it's no longer example. And they talk about how that's just another aspect of sound that you can do. So some interesting examples and commentary in this article. There's a second one here. This one is called The Importance of Sound. And, you know, they talk about 3 types of sound: human voices, music, and sound effects. And they also talk about something called, it says, another way to make a film more believable using sound is incorporate what we know as asynchronous sound effects, often in the form of background sounds. These sounds do not directly correlate to the action occurring in a scene, but they can bring a film to life, including sounds typical of a city or rural area that can help to make the film setting more realistic. So it's not just, you know, the soundtrack and the sort of diegetic, you know, sounds that are represented by what you see on the screen, but there's also this asynchronous sound which puts you in the scene. You know, it's all the environmental sound. This is, if you're wondering how important film can be in making, or music can be in making a film successful, look at some of the iconic film scores that have come to be part of what music makes their films famous today. So here's Jaws, you know, the famous example. It relied on 2 notes as the audio motif. And then of course, Star Wars, you know, that theme that is such an iconic part of the movie. Of course, films like Grease, which, you know, is a musical. So, you know, the music from that, the sounds of that just fill your head up. Okay, and then it says right here, it might seem obvious that the sound quality of a song should be the highest possible. After all, what else is there to a song than the music and lyrics? However, achieving a high quality audio sound must be purposefully done using the right technology, the right type of studio, and the right methodology. When taking the necessary steps to ensure you have a high quality sound every time you record audio, your studio will not only lessen the quality of your work, it will sound much less professional. Here are some things you'll learn to avoid if you want to produce professional quality sounds in your audio production. So if you have your own little studio set up, you want to make sure you can protect against external noises from neighbors and neighboring rooms. So in other words, if you've got a neighbor with a dog, and you can close the window and put some soundproofing on it. If you've got noisy roommates, you know, find a time to record when they're not around. If you have air conditioning or HVAC noise, you know, that can be a problem. Even computer noise can be a problem because some older computers are quite noisy, right? Now there's one more bit to this article here, which is they're talking about the importance of sound in games. And what I think is really interesting, because of course you can, you know, games are so advanced these days, video games, that they look like films. They, you know, they're put together kind of like films. So I think you can make an analogy between games and films. And says Jesse Schell, a video game designer and CEO of Schell Games, has said that sound is what truly convinces the mind is in a place. In other words, hearing is believing. So by putting the sounds in your movie that actually occur at that space, then you mentally place the viewer in that space. So blah, 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 blah. And that was the main quote that I wanted to get from that last part. Okay, and then we have a third and final article here. And this one is called How to Make a Great Low Budget Soundtrack for Your Film. And so, you know, they talk about great films and how critical the music becomes to those films. Like here he talks about, if you've seen the 2001 A Space Odyssey, there's a docking sequence in there that uses the Blue Danube Waltz. And if you try to imagine that scene without that music, it can't be done, right? It just becomes part of it. But here they're also talking about different ways to create soundtracks for your productions. One of them, of course, is buying music, you know, buying existing music. And it says right here, you know, acquiring rights to songs can be expensive as well as confusing. And, you know, you can go to these websites, there are these licensing agencies that you pay a fee to use movie soundtracks. So there's two big publishers, ASCAP and BMI. And one of the licenses is called a synchronization license. And that is what you can buy as a filmmaker. And so what happens is you can go to ASCAP's website, you can look up a song, and it'll tell you who the license holder is. You can buy a master license, which will grant you, you know, permission to use that in soundtracks. And then, you know, obviously once you pay that license fee, you can use it in your movie or whatever. But you do have to be aware that this system exists, and you can't just use anybody's music in your films because you can get in big trouble. In fact, it's kind of funny. There's a link here to a story about a wedding videographer who was being sued for putting, you know, music on that soundtrack, right? So that's pretty granular detail when they can go down to that level and sue a wedding photographer, right? And it says, just how deep does this go? It says, for decades, Happy Birthday to You was one of the most recognized songs in the world. And it was actually, there's a copyright for that song, which Warner Chappell Music holds. And whenever the song was used in any professional context, they got a slice of the pie, right? Says even in Hoop Dreams filmmaker Steve James had to pay $5,000 to use the song in his groundbreaking 1994 documentary Telling the LA Times. It was quite expensive for us at the time and with our budget, and we only used it for 9 seconds, and they had to pay $5,000, right? Now it says back in September, however, a federal judge ruled that Warner Chappell, who had been administering the song since 1988 and pulling in up to $2 million a year in royalties from the song, had never had the rights to collect any money on the song. And this is true. What happened was some filmmaker, you know, put Happy Birthday in their film, and Warner said, you know, you got to pay us $5,000 or $10,000, and the guy sued them, and it went all the way up to the Supreme Court, I think, and the Supreme Court said, you know what, you guys, Warner and Chappell, you never filed the correct copyright forms for this, so you've been getting money illegally for it the whole time, and now we're going to put it into the public domain. So now you guys can use Happy Birthday in your material, in your songs. Now, so they talk about, you know, obviously independent filmmakers don't have the option to pay all that money. So what can they do? Well, you can write your own score, which is part of what you guys are doing right now. You're just creating your own music. They give you different examples of software here, like Logic Pro, which is the big brother of GarageBand, which you can get for $199. There's, you know, there's Ableton Live. There's what's the other one that we were using? FL Studio. You know, so many different options you have, right? So you can produce your own soundtrack. Now here's another idea for creating music for films. You can use social media to connect with musicians. So it says, Sean Baker, director of the acclaimed Tangerine, a film shot on the iPhone 5, told IndieWire that he originally intended for his film to be a return to Dog Me 95, the infamous and somewhat tongue-in-cheek cinematic Vow of Chastity written by Lars von Trier and Thomas Vinterberg. It said the manifesto called for such self-imposed limitation as lack of props, artificial lighting, and especially music. But while ending his film, Baker became entranced by the sound of two DJs from Newark, whom he eventually found through a roundabout path on the music site SoundCloud. where musicians can post high quality copies of their songs for streaming or downloading. According to Baker, SoundCloud is such a great tool for independent filmmakers. There are so many high quality tracks and most of the artists are unsigned. As long as the track is original with no samples, you don't have to go through music supervisors or labels and can negotiate directly with the musician. That's really cool because of course, you know, SoundCloud is an infinite font of music that you could browse through. And then if you find something you like, negotiate directly with the artist. Okay, and then here's what they call turnkey solutions. It says there are sites such as Orchard Music, Jingle Punks, and Pump Audio, Getty Images music division that exist to put filmmakers in touch with musicians and low-cost options for their film and television productions. They have an article, which is a great reference that should prove helpful as you head down the road to your movie's completion. So if you really do want to get, you know, full-blown music, there's other options that are more appropriate for indie filmmakers. So this is not, while not every movie requires music, and in indie cinema, more than any other, all bets are off. When it comes to the aesthetic direction you want to take, there's no denying that a great song paired with a great image can really push a scene or sequence over the top. I'll close with another Kubrick movie because he talked about the 2001, because the director was incredibly innovative in his use of music. The Bronx Native was one of the first directors to forego what he saw as unnecessary and inferior to his ear's original scores in favor of already written and usually public domain classical compositions, public domain meaning free, right? Of which there was no shortage. And it certainly didn't hurt that in 2001's follow-up, A Clockwork Orange, Malcolm McDowell's anti-hero protagonist was so obsessed with Beethoven to the point where the music itself became a plot device. And his work on that film with composer Wendy Carlos was revolutionary in its marriage of synthesizers and classical composers. So if you need one, don't be afraid to go out there and search for your song or write one. Odds are they're already waiting for you. Okay, so let's listen to a little bit of this Beethoven. This may be the version that was recorded by Wendy Carlos, electronic version of Beethoven that was very groundbreaking. And I think in this scene, they're actually torturing Alex with this music. Let's see what we have here. Let me make
I woke up. The pain and sickness all over me like an animal. Then I realized what it was. The music coming up from the floor was our old friend Ludwig van and the dreaded Ninth Symphony. Suddenly I did what I had to do and what I had wanted to do. and that was to do myself in, to snuff it, to blast off forever out of this wicked, cruel world. One moment of pain, perhaps, and then sleep forever and ever and ever.
Okay, so famous scene from Clockwork Orange. You guys see how incredible that that shot was, where they zoomed out and the guy's sitting there and the speakers are, you know, pointing up on the pool table, and that guy's just sitting there spinning the little red balls across the table. I mean, what an incredible shot. Anyway, yeah, wasn't it amazing? If you guys haven't seen Clockwork Orange, definitely see that. Put that on your bucket list because it's amazing.
A great one.
Yeah. Okay, so one last thing, and then I'll give you guys some time to work on your projects. You know, we've talked about Foley sound, and there's a little video here that this guy made who, you know, he's a Foley artist. He creates Foley sounds. And what I like about it is he's making a bunch of Foley sounds, but he's showing you exactly how he makes them. So it's almost like a video reference that you can, you know, put this link somewhere, store it in your resources or whatever. If you're like, oh, how can I make a saber sword sound, or how can I make the sound of bubbles or whatever, you just watch this video and he shows you exactly how he's doing it. This is a short video, but I just thought we'd take a look at it because it's kind of fun. All right, here we go. So guy uses household objects to create movie sound effects. Pretty cool stuff. Let me make this big. Anyway, pretty fun stuff there. Just shows you, you know, even with the simplest items, how cool Foley sound effects you can make. Okay, so those are all the articles I wanted to share with you guys today. Of course, we're about a week away from the deadline for this project. So, you know, definitely, as I said earlier, if you haven't even started your music yet, at least start it, because it might take you longer than you think to, you know, find some software or create some sounds that you're happy with. Get that started, even if you just create a rough draft that you can add to your video. You know, I don't know which way you guys are doing it. Some people are creating the video first, some people the music first. But you know, you got each one of these is half the equation, so you got to get them both done. So go ahead and work on that stuff. If you guys have any questions, I'm going to turn my video feed off, but I'll be here. You can just jump in and ask me. So why don't you go ahead and work on that, and I'll come check back in with you at the end of the period. All right. Okay.
So, a quick question: how long does the music video have to be?
So there's no time limit on it, really. I might have put something. I probably put something when I originally put the project together, but I would say anything from 30 seconds to 2 minutes is fine. You know, so really, you know, whatever length is appropriate for what you're trying to do. But you know, obviously 10 seconds isn't enough. But anything, you know, under a minute or longer is fine.
Okay. And I also had another question. So, do you remember those little cables that you handed out for like the Macs, you know, for the keyboard adapter?
Yeah.
Did those work on iPhones too, or no?
They do, but what you need is you need a little adapter. Because the keyboard ends in a USB plug, you know, which is you know what a USB looks like, right?
Yeah.
Hold on, I have one right here. Okay, so the keyboard adapter ends in a USB plug, right? However, the iPhone requires one of these little lightning things. So what you need is you need an adapter that will be a female receptor for the USB that goes then to a male lightning port. Now, I do have some of these. I have them in school. I've got a number of them. And, you know, I can get you one if you want. You can buy one if you want. I mean, you could probably buy one on Amazon and have it delivered tomorrow, or you can even go somewhere like Best Buy and they'll have them. Let me see if I can find one real quick online here, and I'll show you what they look like. Okay, so I'm going to go to USB to iPhone adapter. Oh yeah, this is it exactly. So let me share my screen. Yeah, like I said, if you don't want to bother buying one, I can meet you at the school sometime and give you one. But it's basically this little bad boy right here. You can get them from Apple and you can get them from Amazon. This one here is 20 bucks. So as you can see, it's got the female in for the USB and then the male lightning port out.
Okay.
Yeah. So let me know if you want me to get you one of these, or you can just buy one.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.